Just 1 second, everyone. We'll be just letting a few more people in the room and we will be ready to get started. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Jeff Finn, CEO at RealNex, and delighted to have Mike Lerg and Chris Sayre join me today. Mike and Chris are with our affiliate Pix Virtual, and together we deliver RealNex VR. And today we'll be talking about how RealNex VR helps our clients win listings, attract clients, and close deals faster. We've had tremendous success with so many of our RealNex clients recently, creating amazing aerial video tours and compelling immersive virtual reality that has helped their ability to gain approvals for development, attract capital, and pre-lease and pre-sell very effectively. And with our aerial tours, even just to win business at the outset by showcasing their company, their track record, and then recruiting new business to their market by presenting the key economic drivers and the value proposition surrounding a new listing that they might have to offer. So Mike's going to get us started off. I will turn the controls over to him. As always, we are open for questions and are recording the session so that you can share it with any of your colleagues over time. Want to relook at it. Our library of videos are up and available in the RealNex YouTube channel, so you can always take a look at them there if you miss any of our future sessions. So Mike, let you take it away.
All right, thank you. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
And Chris, can you move the cursor? All right, we are good to go. All right. Well, thanks again for joining today's webinar. And so for an overview, we'll be going through our visualization solutions. We'll then be showing how they can help you stand out and win listings, and then using that to attract clients and drive engagement, which then will help you close deals faster. And we'll show that through a series of case studies and the proven results. So in terms of our visual solutions, we have our aerial video tours and drone video captures, virtual reality models. So they're 3D models that you can tour and your clients can tour, as opposed to the panoramic VR tours like Matterport or iGuide. 3D and 360 videos, so similar to Matterport, but our videos actually are autonomous via a in-house developed robot that can actually capture the space moving along a path. Augmented VR, so we could take that 360 video and with the LiDAR capture of the space as it's moving through, we can then build 3D scenes. So if it's a white or gray boxed stage building and with a 20,000 square foot floor of an office high-rise, and it's just concrete and bare steel, then we can actually put in walls, doors, staging, and have it match and see what the view would be out the windows based on the 360 video that's captured, and overlay the 3D modeling on top of that accurately. We also, of course, do renderings, and we have another technology, 360 Meet. We won't be getting into that in this webinar today. And of course, we then have RealSite, which is our seamless interface that you can then pick these different solutions and create a custom solution, so a la carte, but have a single web URL. It functions as a specific project-specific website. And so all of your marketing materials, contact information, and all of this media can all be in one spot for consistent branding and communication and ease of distribution. So in terms of the aerial video tours, I'm going to start off and show one particular here. Let me pause. There it is. Let me mute the speakers so the music doesn't run out. So we have the drone footage of this China Basin in San Francisco. It was a warehouse complex turned into offices. And so we're able to add, so the aerial video tour here is having some sizzle by having the drone footage included into it. And after we get through the aerial footage, we'll then get into the aerial tour, which is based upon a Google map or Google Earth view. And so we're then able to do overlays of information.
Yeah, and Mike, I just want to give like an overarching overview of the entire thing of, you know, what exactly is the aerial video tour. The aerial video tour, as this is gonna get to, is going to showcase the property, the project, and the site, and it's going to give you a great understanding and a great selling point as to why this is such an important place for this property. What are the amenities in the area? What are the things that are important? Where is the airport located? Where is the subway located? Where is all of the different amenities that would be, you know, important, and you know, decide to attract somebody to either invest in the site, build at the site, or you know, bring tenants to the site, whatever it might be. Why is this place important, and why is its location in the world important? As you can see here, this is showcasing all of the different areas around the China Basin, and giving an overview and a great understanding of what is happening, you know, around it. We can see where the interstates are. We can see where the, you know, the BART trans line is, and all sorts of stuff. So as you think about this, you know, this is all information that you could put into a, you know, an offering memorandum, and showcase in a bunch of images, pictures, or text. But what we've done here is we've taken the idea of a nice, quick sizzle presentation, showcased the property, and showcased why it's valuable, showcased what it looks like in the world, where it sits, how it's situated, and what makes it important, and an easily digestible, quick video that anybody can watch with one push. You don't need to go read a whole bunch of stats. You don't have to go look through a whole bunch of charts and data and information. This is a very effective way of getting the point across and communicate the value in something that anybody, you know, I would think would have time to view and be excited and interested in. And that's what we're trying to drive here.
This next version it's also an aerial video tour that you're going to see, but it's based on promoting. Sorry, let me turn that off. It is off. Why is that popping up? Okay. This is to promote yourself or your company. So this can be used in an email signature. So there's, you know, music in the background. We can also have voiceover, but there's brokers in the San Diego area. It's going to highlight the areas within San Diego in terms of the zip codes that his specialty is in, his expertise, and then highlight some other aspects in terms of the projects that he's helped sell or lease, and then get into some of the metrics for the firm itself. And so again, having this is basically, it's a video version of a business card that can tell a whole story and give context to potential leads, contacts, and
Yeah, while that's finishing up, I'll just make the point. If you're selling yourself and you're selling your business, what's one of the most effective ways to do it? You know, we believe this is that way. Showcase, you know, your expertise. Showcase what you've accomplished, what you've promoted, what you've you know, what you've done in your career, and why you should be the person to do the, you know, representing that property. And you know, this is an effective, once again, you know, tool set in your suite and your arsenal of how you're going to go out there, win more deals, make more business, and promote yourself as well.
What I love about this, guys, is it's not a cookie cutter, that you can basically tailor it and customize it and get just the message that you want and do it in a very compelling way and very, you know, crisp, impactful package, so that you can tell your message, whether it's to talk about your market, to talk about your track record, and to talk about specific opportunities. So, and you can reuse some of these tools, right? So you build this regional type of overlay, and then if you have a new listing come on board, you can begin to showcase that, so you can reuse and get value out of the base package for future messages that you want to put out.
Exactly. Next is our aerial video tour, and I'll have Chris speak to this as the video plays here. I'm going to mute the music here. And so it's a combined aerial video tour and a property video tour combined.
Yeah, so and this is we're gonna start getting into a little bit more of this later on here, but essentially, we've got the site here which has nothing built on it yet. There's a future vision and a potential to the site that we want to showcase. So how do we do that? Well, we take our satellite view, we zoom in, we're able to take 3D buildings, superimpose that into the video, so now you can get a great understanding of the layout, the look, the feel. But to take it even a step further, we want to bring it to life. So that's what we've done here is we've gone from the satellite view, we've zoomed in, you can see the buildings on the site, and now we've actually got people walking through the scenes. We've got some music in the background, we've got cars coming through, and essentially what we've done is we've skipped ahead in time. We can say that we've gone so many years into the future. What is this site going to look like? How is it going to function? What's the dynamic energy in it, and why should you be interested in investing in it and its potential, essentially, is what we're talking about here. And you can go about this obviously multiple ways in your current activities and the way you do business. But once again, if you've got a video like this that's going to showcase the property, bring it to life, we're bridging the gap between imagination and understanding and putting it right there. There is no more trying to figure out, well, where is this particular area in relation to other areas? What is this going to look like? How is it going to function? Why should I be excited by it? And that's the other thing that we're really trying to get across here is that not only are we giving you a tool set to inform your clients, but also to excite them. And that's a big deal. We all know how much excitement plays in in the part of making a sale or closing a sale, and that's another part of the equation that we're trying to solve for here.
Yeah, much more compelling than just a site plan, and
Yeah.
that's what we started with. You weren't given a lot to create what you did, but there was a site plan and then a story about a major residential development close by, which was the driver. They were able to control this land before it, there was really much in the market, but with the new residential development coming in, the developer had this vision for that tract of land.
Yep.
This next project, the property management group, this was a gym pre-pandemic. It shuttered its businesses early in the weeks of the pandemic. And the client wanted to present the space, one, with all of the non-structural walls removed, have it cleaned up and show the maximum volume capacity of the space, potentially for a retail space. They also then wanted us to depict it as a medical clinic, as well as a tech office. And they didn't have initially plans for this same space to be laid out the three ways. And so we worked with them to help create that from various different plans of theirs to come up with this solution. So as we always bring this up for the first time, this is actually our real site interface. It's a simple version of it compared to some of our other projects, but you'll see that this is running in a web page. So this one URL is including an overview of the project and the property. And so this will link to the website, the location, which brings up the actual Google Maps. So I can actually move around and zoom in and out, just like you would in Google Maps. And you can actually launch the full version of Google Maps if you want. And then we have the three versions that we're going to show. So the vacant version I'll show first, and then I'll hand over control to Chris. So this is the exterior of the building, which is the same for all three versions. And again, this is a fully interactive 3D model. And if this is stuttering at all, it's because we're doing it through a Zoom meeting or GoToWebinar meeting. But when you're running this live through on your phone or your tablet or your computer, any internet-enabled device, it's very smooth. And so we can come up here and see the floor plan. So all of the non-structural walls are removed. You can see that this is the elevator core, stairs, and the second floor lobby. And there's two access points into this space. And so if I drop into it, just so you can see it from first person point of view, you can see inside, I'm just clicking and dragging with my mouse. I can click on the ground to walk to a certain point, or I can use the predetermined camera positions in the right-hand side. So there's several different ways to easily navigate, but this helps you get familiar with the space in its maximum open volume. And so I'll bring up the medical clinic, and I'll have Chris take over from here.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Yeah, so the only other thing I want to touch back upon is, Mike had mentioned that this is running inside of a web browser, and that you get it, obviously, by going to either Google Chrome or whatever kind of web browser you use. But there's another layer to this, and why is that important? Why should I care that this is running inside of a web browser? Well, the reason why you should care is that it means that this is very easy to share, because all it is a link. We host the content, we create the content, we host the content, we give you a link, and you get to do whatever you want with that. That means you can take that link, you can share it in social media, you can go and send it in an email to somebody that might be interested in the space. You can do whatever you want with it. Also means that you don't need to download anything and install an app or anything to run this. This is not anything that you have to go, run through a filter of privacy issues or anything like that, and tell somebody go install the app and you can go see the property. That's not the case. It's a web link. Do whatever you want with it. Access it however you want. Works on your phone, works on a tablet, works on your computer, and it doesn't matter if it's Windows or an Apple-based operating system. And so with that said, Mike just showcased what the floor plan looked like empty. Well, let's take a look at what we can do with something like this. And this is why real-time 3D is so powerful and impactful in a web browser. I can now take this rooftop off, and as you can see, what was once empty is now brought to life once again with all of the walls laid out. We can go in here, we can get a close-up view on the examination rooms. We can see where the break room is. We can go and take a look at any point of this model that we want to get a great understanding of the layout, design. And we'll go back up here to floor plan. And then once we've got this, and we've got enough information that we want here, let's just say we would be interested in walking through it as if it was really laid out this way. Well, with our 3D VR tours, we can do that. And now that I'm in here, all I have to do is click on the ground. That's going to take me wherever I want. I have full control. I just look left and right. I can just click and drag, look left and right. Or if I want, once again, you can see we got a little video playing in here. If I want, all I have to do is go click on one of these buttons in the upper right-hand corner. That's going to take me to all of the different places. So easy to share because it's a web link, easy to navigate because we put in the functionality to make it as easy as possible, yet make it powerful enough by giving you all the freedom and accessibility you would like, should you want that. And that's that on that guy right there. And the other thing I think I'll point out while I'm here, I'll go back to the floor plan view real quick, is there's this button in the lower bottom right-hand corner. It's a little squiggly line here. If we click that, what that's going to do is now I'm hands off. I'm not touching anything. This is going to run through that camera position list we have in the upper right-hand corner. And it kind of goes into a movie mode, you could say, where we're going to move throughout the scene. And if I share this, or if I have this on a kiosk, or maybe I'm giving a meeting and I'm talking about this, maybe I don't want to interact with it all the time. I just want it to do its thing, and I want it to play through like a movie would. Well, all I have to do is press that button, and it goes on an auto tour functionality. So it's going to automatically tour throughout the spaces that we have, with the buttons set up in the upper right-hand corner, and it's going to keep looping on that. So it's another feature and a function that we have built into this. We'll stop that there. And finally, I'm going to come back to the tech office. And once I launch this, you're going to see that very familiar front of that building once again while she loads up. And you can see, in under 5 seconds, we've loaded up a full VR tour. And now we're going to come to the floor plan, and what you'll see is something very different, yet very familiar because it's the same space. We've got all this open office area that we can see. Now we can do kind of a basic head count of how many people we can fit in here. We can see what the look and feel of this site is, which is, once again, now that it's no longer a medical clinic, has very different energy and environment going on. And then we will drop into the lobby. which now you can see the power of visualization. Whereas before we were going off to the left, we are now going down to the, straight down the center north of the point that we came in. And the look and feel is completely different. We've redemised the space, we've retextured it, we've given much, completely different materials, and it is a completely different space look and feel wise. But at the same time, if you're looking to go to market with a piece of property that you might want to hit different segments, in this case medical, and in the other case tech office, you can bifurcate, take the exact same property and go out there and start marketing it and start trying to get this thing, leased out, sold, whatever it is that you need to do. We can bring understanding, we can bring awareness, and we can also educate and get people excited by the space. And once again, you're going to hear me say that over and over, but it's the truth of it. When people bridge that gap of, you look at a site plan, or you look at a floor plan of something, you don't understand, and you're not going to retain where are the windows, where's the doors, what's the possibilities here. But when you're inside of a 3D virtual tour, you're experiencing it, and experience is everything. Experience sells it. Experience gives you the actual location laid out and removes all sense of what are the possibilities. We're showing you the possibility.
And Chris, one of the things that I love about this is, again, once this model was created, and let's say you had that generic tech space, and you're talking to Global Tech Co. or tech.com, whatever it is, you can take the generic branding of that and quickly put the potential prospects branding on it, so you can really personalize. You can, even if you wanted to, bring their colors in there, put their logo around and make it home for them, so they can really feel themselves in that space, how they would be living there.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a big deal. I mean, I don't know if it's in this deck, Mike, but we did something for a client for Trek Bike, and that's exactly what we did. We branded the building, we changed out the materials to better suit the client, and it was very, very, very impactful, and worked out quite well.
Exactly. And one of the things with this particular client, not only did they not have the floor plans initially to work from, which we helped them kind of do a Tetris of multiple pieces from multiple plans, but all the staging that you saw in both the tech office and the medical clinic were from images that were pulled off the internet, publicly available images, that this was the look and feel they wanted. So there was no interior design work yet, there was no architectural design drawings yet, and that's how we then actually staged this space. And also, we're presenting all three versions, the vacant and retail, medical, tech office, here in this one interface. We actually gave it to them as 3 separate deliverables, so that then one team could market to retail, one team could market to medical, and one team could market to technical office. So they broadened their reach, and they were able to accelerate the leasing of that space to a tech office group, was the final tenants. This next solution, this is a historic building. It was a schoolhouse in urban development zone in Chicago. It's been abandoned for a long, long time, as you can see. It's been vandalized. It actually had to bring our own lights to be able to see and walk through, very hazardous. So not only are the photos not really helpful on trying to pre-lease what is going to become 24 apartments in this building, but there's nothing to walk through or see, and it's actually hazardous to your health. So we then created this virtual tour. And with this capability of giving the clients the ability to explore the interior and exterior of the space and the rooftop patio, they were able to pre-lease 8 of the 24 units while they were still in the demolition stage of taking down the non-structural walls inside. They hadn't started new construction yet. They were still clearing out the structure. And with that, we were able to get up here, 4th floor. And so we had a 1-bedroom unit and a 2-bedroom unit. I'm going to drop into the 2-bedroom unit. And again, this is the VR tour without the real site interface, but again, it's running in a web page. So since this is in a web page and it's a simple link on your website, if you already have a web page that's for this project, you can insert this like you would any other video and then just change the link to this versus a YouTube video. And then you have a 3D interactive VR tour in your website. And so as we load up the scene here, Again, the same interface, being able to navigate, click and drag, click on the ground. But this allowed be able to tour the 1 and 2 bedroom spaces. They're able to get deposits on 8 of the 24 units in the first few weeks of demolition. So that, of course, relaxes the risk factor from the financer. The future phases of funding were released on time, if not ahead of schedule, because the risk wasn't there. And our VR tours is what made that possible.
Yeah, I'll just close out with this. If all you had to try and lease these units out was those pictures of the existing building and some floor plans, how easy would that be to sell versus having the 3D VR element where you can actually walk through it and show the future state? And that's all I mean, I don't think I need to say much more than that. Is we're making life a lot easier for a lot of people. And you know, this, especially with something like this where you can't even walk into the building. It's, you know, you forget about drumming up excitement if you know, the windows are knocked out and it looks like you know, there was a fire hazard that went straight through it. So.
And this doesn't show it, but this is just sort of showing the site in isolation. But this could easily be dropped into one of the aerial video tours so that you can actually show everything going on around it. Maybe there's a park to the left and there's a future development to the right. So something that exists and something that's to be, again, envisioned as part of the future drivers of why you want to come in here now, because of how the area is growing and improving or expanding around you, where restaurants and shops are and other amenities that you'd want to take advantage of.
Exactly. And then with the real site interface, with that menu on the left-hand side, you'd have aerial video tour as one of the first links, the VR tour below that, you know, so that they would all be in a seamless interface and user experience from one link. This next video is to show our capabilities. You know, this is a video rendering of a space that, again, it was vacant like this. But then we had a client that gave us the floor plans and the look and feel of what they wanted from, again, publicly available images for the staging. And we created this property video tour of a walkthrough of the space to help them present how this empty slab at the time could be staged and laid out for a particular client. So in some cases, a property video tour like this can have the voiceover narration, some background music, and actually tell a story, because the video is on a fixed path. So there is sometimes a benefit to having a fixed path, because you're guaranteed that the story you're telling is going to be presented the way you want it. Whereas with the VR tours, it's an ability to freely explore. So in some cases, the combination is the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and you know, the thing that I want to touch upon really quick is that, you know, as we start looking at all of these separate elements, the thing to keep in mind is that if you do have a VR tour created, then it is very fast, very efficient, and very inexpensive for us to take that same 3D VR tour and turn it into a property video tour, because we already have everything in 3D. So we have the walls, we have the furniture, we have everything. We just need to do some stuff to make the lighting a little bit better, put the people into the scene and whatnot. But you know, as we start looking at all of these things, there's an interconnection point where it starts in 3D, and we can branch out, we can move forward, we can upgrade the experience if in a year you need a video in addition, or you know, if you need it in a week after, whatever it might be. We can always come back to the property, we can update the 3D and you know, adjust it to match and the needs of the site and a potential client for the site. And we can, you know, once again give you video components and renders that would then match up and increase the value of the particular project for you.
Yeah, so the return on investment of the media assets goes up exponentially with each reuse, because the costs actually come down. This next video is where we start getting into the use of the augmented reality and the 360 videos. And once we capture the scene, let me keeps popping up on my other computer. Give me 1 second. Stop. Bring this up. Restart here. So this is a interactive 3D video. So you can see I can actually turn and look around, but the camera's moving at the same time. And then we actually have the 3D staging come in. So there's a vacant apartment. We're able to then populate it with the furnishings, show it as vacant again. So this was captured from our robot that can freely navigate through a space autonomously, as well as be guided by a user. It's capturing 360 video, the LiDAR 3D scan of the geometry as well at the same time. And from that ability to track itself as well as the resulting video, we can then overlay the 3D scenes on top of the video. And so that's how we then can create this content. But this is just one example of many. And in the cases of, in one particular use case, with 5 apartment complexes that were owned by the same property management group, they were able to reduce their occupancy availability, where they're off market or where they're vacant, by 30%. So they're leased faster. That saved them an average of $80,000 per year per complex. So it really paid for itself in that particular case. This is a new technology for us, so we're getting ready to present this at ICSC next week, but we're still packaging that capabilities. I believe capturing the space is about 10 cents a square foot in terms of capturing. And then if you want the augmented VR on top of that, it'd be another 25 cents a square foot to do the 3D staging or the full architectural layout if it's a vacant space with no walls. So just give you a ballpark figure on that. But the minimum cost of going out to the site to do the capture is $5,000. And so this is actually the full real site application. And the one thing that this particular example doesn't have is the aerial video tour incorporated. But I'll let Chris walk through this particular use case and just sum up. This is our final 3D scene.
Okay, so just to reiterate, and I might sound like a broken record, but I want to make sure everybody understands. Running inside a web browser, very important. Share anywhere, anytime, social media to anybody, doesn't matter. Also means that you have 24/7 access to a VR tour. That's another thing that we didn't point out yet that I forgot, is that, you know, it's very important that any time of day, anywhere, somebody has the ability to go in and tour a site, a building, a home, an office, whatever it might be. No limit to access. So that's another benefit. So we're going to come down here, touch upon each button. First button is going to come up and it's going to give us an overview of the site. So we sit here, we can read about this for a second, take a look at it. We can go into a contact button. And once I hit contact, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to drive Mike's computer crazy because it'll probably pop up on another screen, but it's going to open up the email and you'll be able to reach directly out to the rep. Then we're going to come down to location. Once again, interactive mode for Google Maps. So I can come in here, I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can move around, I can do whatever I want. And I have an understanding of where this is located in the world. Site plan, very straightforward. It's going to open a site plan of the property. And in this case, we put in our, our 3D virtual buildings right next to the development that was next to it because that was important for the client. And 3D tour, self-explanatory. It's going to open up our 3D VR tour. It's going to give us the ability to drop into a place that does not quite exist yet, get an understanding of the layout of the buildings, the look and feel of the idea. We've got some water in the back. We've got all our trees here. We can do different aerial views. We'll go jump over here to this side. And then when we're happy looking around, we're going to go drop right into a walkable mode. And the other thing to point out for anybody that might be interested in this, and I just bring it up because some people might be, we call it a VR tour for a reason. Works on your device, any device you have, but it does also work on a VR headset in case anybody here is tuning in because they've got their Oculus Quest or whatever VR headset they've got, and they want to utilize that to its fullest potential, this will run on an Oculus Quest or any other 3D VR headset, but not necessary to have the experience, of course. Now we'll come back up here, and we've got our video that was taken from the 3D, so we can hear. And you know, like Mike said, this is a full-on presentation.
Flourishing suburbs in Indianapolis, both.
There we go.
Let it play.
Yeah, and then you can see, I mean, you know, I think we got enough of that, but you can hear that we've got narration involved here. We've got music. So, you know, from start to finish, we're giving you an understanding of the property, the layout of the property, the tour of the property, and then we're giving you a bit of a sizzle here of, you know, an overview of the property with a nice property video tour. And finally, we can also, once again, create high quality renders. So we've got, you know, we've got the ability that we run the gamut of all of your visual marketing needs and how you might want to, you know, present the property as it stands, or the future vision of the property, or the potential of the property. And we put it into a package and a format that is easy to access, easy to navigate, and, you know, greatly cuts down on, you know, the telling the story of the property and what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
I think one of the key things about this particular project was all we had at the time was the plot plan. So we had the major roads around the site and through the site, but this particular retail section you're seeing here with the 4 retail buildings and the 2 restaurant buildings, the events tent out back, that was all just through brainstorming with the client in terms of the look and feel, some publicly available images, and some sketches in terms of what size and proportions they wanted the buildings to be. And then because some of us, like myself, I have an architectural degree, we are able to extrapolate from those sketches and actually come up with the architectural designs for Chris and the art team then to actually build the 3D models from. So there was no architectural drawings, no civil plans for this site. We're able to lay out the parking layout and all that just from some conceptual sketches and the plot plan itself.
One of the things you didn't show, but you have a little bit of it, but you could put any type of data overlays on this to talk about demographics of the area or sizing of units and you know, traffic counts. And so whatever messaging you want, whether it's the voiceover narration or bulleted text or any type of banners that you want, do you think about as you conceptualize what you want? Again, these are completely customized solutions that we can deliver for the particular client. And as Mike and Chris said, even if they don't know exactly, just through brainstorming, we can help craft a concept and a storyboard to then build this type of presentation, which is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. With the data overlays, that can apply both here into the 3D VR tours as well as the aerial video tours. And really with the aerial video tours, it's an ideal replacement to a business plan in terms of, you know, what businesses are near your site, which, you know, what's going to draw people to that particular location for sale or for lease. And so instead of having it be a still image with one image of some icons around the building, it actually becomes a video flyover of the site with all of that information. It can go from state level down to the site or vice versa and not be limited in scope.
You've shown a number of different styles, and I would even look at some are different degrees of quality. Can you talk about how do you think about presentation, what level of graphic detail, sort of photo realistic versus box blocking that you'd use in different use cases, just so the audience understands you've got this range that you can take it to one extreme or another depending on what the use is?
Certainly. So we can start off, and actually we did in a way with this particular project with, you know, conceptual massing models of just, you know, what size of the building and where are they placed, you know, in the process iteratively. Really, it comes down to a couple different factors. One is what is your goal and objectives and at what stage of the life cycle is the project in? In some cases, it may be conceptual and you're just looking for getting permit approvals or getting some momentum publicly, and you're not concerned about the final look and feel. But like we said here, this is conceptual, but it's very realistic. there's kind of two technology branches we go down. One is for the renderings and videos, the other is for the VR tours. And the VR tours, that 3D model is processing on your local device. That's your phone, your tablets, your computer. And so because of that, there is some limitations in terms of what we can do in terms of level of realism and still have it be downloaded fast and respond without any latency or lag on your device. Whereas rendered videos and still images, we're not limited because it's all pre-processed. So we can put in a lot more detail. Like you'll see here, we have all the cars in here and then cars we're driving in the video. But if we come to the 3D tour, let me go back in. I thought I had it open. So here in the video, we have it's up. But here in this scene, the parking lot's vacant for the most part. So for the polygon count and all that, for those resources, we didn't want to tie that up so that you can have a nice smooth experience to experience the VR tour. So that's what's driving that in this particular case. But really the level of realism is dependent upon what's your goals and objectives and what stage of the life cycle and what level of information is available.
Yeah, and I would only add one more thing to it, and I think it's probably the obvious thing to everybody, but I'll just throw it out there anyway. What's your budget? Whatever your budget is what's going to help drive what it is that we can deliver for you. And let's say that you need a high quality video, but you only have a limited budget. Well, then we can figure out ways of limiting what's being shown in the video. We can limit a little bit more of the detail level of the buildings or the style of the buildings. There's many things that we can do to, get this across the finish line for you and meet your goal. So, and that might not be the same for everybody. So depending on the budget, which is where we start with a lot of this stuff, or, what it is you're looking to do, we're happy to, scope things out with you, work with you, even if all you have is a pencil sketch on a napkin, we can start from there. It doesn't matter what you're supplying to us. We can start with the most basic, simple things as a concept. You come to us with a vacant lot and you say, I want to look at this with 3 different retail buildings on there, but you don't have a clue as to what they're going to look like or how big they're going to be. We can work with you on that. All you need to do is give us a picture of what you have, an idea of in mind, and maybe we do some little layouts with you and say, okay, here's where the parking lot would be, here's where the 3 buildings would be, and whatnot. And we can do most of the heavy lifting when it comes to that. But a lot of it's going to come down to what's your goal and what's your budget, and then from there we'll move.
Along that line, you talked about this being so easy and efficient to deploy. Nothing extraordinary is needed. You have a website, you have a property listing, whether it's RealNex Marketplace or with our packaging, links from anywhere, and that's easy to deploy. Your clients, prospects can see it on a website or their phone. What is the sort of and I think people are sometimes intimidated thinking that this is so much, it's got to be really expensive, but we've been able to drive so much efficiency into this process, bring the cost way down to make it very affordable. So if you want to talk about the cost structure and range, just to give sort of benchmarks.
Yeah.
Everything's scoped individually, but just to give a frame of reference.
Yeah, I mean, and this is going to be, this is going to be the highest level overview that I can give, because, the thing that Jeff pointed out is there's going to be a range. We need to talk to you and find out, how big is the building, or is it just an interior? Is it just exteriors? There's going to be so many different things that we need to do, just a little bit of an interview process with you that, it takes like 10 minutes or so, just to get an idea. But I will say this, the VR tours, which generally people, when they hear VR, they think, oh, it's expensive and it's time consuming to create. Our VR tours start at $1,500 for a basic VR tour, and we can turn them around in a few days. So, it's not where you're going to be sitting there waiting for weeks for something that, that you need right away. We can do it quickly, and we can do it inexpensively. And, from there, there's multiples that go on depending on how many units do you need to pull out. Does the site have symmetry? Meaning, if it's 3 buildings, or it's, 6 buildings, are 3 of the buildings the same as the other 3 buildings? That's going to cut down on cost. So reusability for us is an easy thing. It's a copy paste, and mirror it. So it's not too big a deal. And a lot of times we find, at least, that, while we offer renders, and our renders start at about, $300 or so for a site that we've built for you, and sometimes less. Be cautionary here with this, but it can be less. The idea that the VR tours can be pricey is a misunderstanding by a lot of people, because a lot of companies don't know how to do it effectively and efficiently, and we've solved for that. So we can do them effectively, efficiently, inexpensively, and in a turnaround time that meets your needs and is a lot quicker than anybody else would do. So that's, once again, very dependent on our conversation with you, but just so you know, they start at $1,500, and and turnaround time can be as quick as a couple of days for some.
And one thing, just to expand on that topic of the pricing, you saw that the a la carte list of between the 3D tour, the VR tours, the aerial tours, renderings, videos. Again, we've had some of our clients say, well, I just want a couple of renderings, and we'll do that. And then they'll get to the next phase. Well, I now want to update the renderings, but now I need an animation walk by. And now we got that. Now I got a tenant interested. I want to do a test fit. And so let's do a 3D layout of the VR tour of the interior. And so it just grows. But since we started off with the models for the renderings, each iteration is a small incremental upgrade rather than starting from scratch and a new cost. So we're basically a one-stop shop for all of your visualization services.
Yeah, and if there's anything that you haven't seen here, I promise you, we can do it. There's no lack of there's no lack of capability within the group here to tailor something that, if you need sound built into it, where somebody presses a button and it explains a particular area to you, or maybe it's a video that pops up within the 3D tour, or a web page that pops up. There's a lot of stuff we held back on here because it's information overload. But when we do the interview process and talk to you, then some of that stuff comes up and we say, hey, it'd be great here if you put this in, and you've already got this website for it. Maybe if we put the website into the listing and all this other stuff. So there's many things we can do that we're capable of. We just don't talk about it too much because I think we've given people enough to digest in this already.
That's okay. All right. So this is just I know we're running late on time here, getting close to the end. So this Crossings Heritage is a property that was as a concrete and steel phase of construction, condominiums, and we then gave them 3D tours of the 1 and 2 bedroom units. As you can see here, it's actually loading in. So this is actually in their website. Oops, hold on. Let me get back up where it was. And one of the key things about this, if I scroll down here, so we have the 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom above each other, but also we had 4 packages of materials that they had for the condos. And because they were able to explore each of the units based upon each of the floor packages, they were able to pre-sell 90% of the units while they were still in construction. And they actually developed a waiting list on phase 2's building. And phase 2's building had deposits on 70 of 80 units at that time. And so that was all because of the VR tour capability.
Once again, this is touching on the idea that Mike spoke about earlier, which is you can embed a 3D VR tour directly into your website, just as if you were embedding a video. So think about, maybe you have a YouTube video, or you have an image on your website. Well, how cool would it be to instead have something that engages your potential clients, something that gives them something to interact with, that gives them the ability to go in and do a walkthrough versus looking at a single standard image, something that gives them the ability to look at all of the different finishes just by clicking on a button and changing out the floors and the walls and the countertops. And it generates, not only does it inform, but it does generate interest and excitement.
And in this case, we did the materials as packages, but we also do it a la carte. So you can click on the wall and then pick from 6 to 8 colors, pick the floor, the cabinets, the countertops, the backsplash. Anything you want can be retextured in real time. So this is the case of it being in the website. If you're a RealNex customer using Market Edge for creating your brochures, then obviously it's very easy to include the link into the brochure itself. And for printed materials, I always recommend including a QR code next to the VR tour. So in this case, we have an image with a link on it to launch the VR tour, which we already saw on the website. But also once you get past the financials, you have these photos that were grabbed from the VR tour. So these are not our high quality renderings. These are actually images from the VR tour itself. And that allowed them to create their publications. But again, by having a QR code would then allow anybody to scan a printed material and access the VR code or the VR tour from their phone or their tablet. And then of course, with the marketplace listings or any other platform for listings, as soon as you insert the link, so we have these images here, but if we add the link that was that, the same URL that had the VR tour before, by adding that then makes the 3D button active. So clicking here will actually launch the VR tour, or in another platform, you can then have the link in your description. So someone can click on the link and launch the VR tour that way. So using traditional or digital marketing, there's no real limitation in terms of how our content, whether it's any of our media content, is distributed, which actually
even in the print version in the PDF, you can put the hyperlink into the image and pop it open. You don't need the
right, exactly. I was thinking if I was mentioning the QR code is if you're going to have somebody
print a file, obviously, but if it's a PDF, you can use it.
Right, exactly. And in the case of the brochure here, that's exactly what we have on this image here is a link. So clicking on this will launch the VR tour to that URL.
Well, perfect, guys. You covered a lot of ground. I appreciate you and all the interest of the audience. How do we get in touch and with interest?
Sure. So let me jump ahead here. Oh, some of the metrics. These in terms of these are the proven value add in terms of getting things done faster, closing the lease cycles. But in terms of reaching out to us, that's the summary. Boop. You can contact us at the phone number here. You'll also get a video replay of this webinar tomorrow. And in that email, we'll have our contact information as well.
Perfect. I think we covered all the questions and you covered the ground. I don't know if you have any closing remarks. You jumped through some of your closing messages. It looked like you were ready to wrap, so I don't.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I lost track. The main thing, in terms of marketing our VR tours and other media, 40% higher engagement, 45% more inquiries, 2.5 times more social media shares than images alone or standard videos. And then our VR tours often close fast releaser sales by 30%. And then in terms of reduced unnecessary visits, a lot of people now starting to buy and lease properties sight unseen by online visits. And so the VR tours make that capable, especially when the property is not camera ready. That's really where our specialty is. If it's camera ready, then we can do the 360 image type based tours. But our specialty is trying to visualize something that either doesn't exist yet or isn't in a finished state yet. So. Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys. We really appreciate you taking the time and joining us today. And we love all the work that you're doing for so many of our clients, and just got back from SIOR where there was tremendous interest. And I know we'll be showcasing this at ICSC next week. So look forward to working with you on the call today. And if you have any inquiries, please reach out to Mike and Chris or to your RealNex representative, and we'll be glad to scope out a project for you.
Thanks again. Have a good day.